We are in the middle of the holiday game rush.
Ooh.
So we're through October, which is when they first start showing up. But would it surprise you to learn that apparently holiday game sales are off to a slow start?
It would.
In 2016? GameStop says they are. GameStop says the new game releases in October underperformed for that retailer in particular.
And what were those releases, just real quick?
Well, that include Battlefield. Actually, I worked this out. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
Include Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, Mafia 3, Gears of War 4, Elder Scrolls 5 Special Edition, Civilization 6, and a Resident Evil 7 teaser.
That's so good. Bravo.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Well done, David.
And this is why you are a leader.
Did you set him up that way deliberately?
No, that was great.
No, I figured that out earlier today.
That's really fantastic. And maybe therein lies a little of the problem. These are all
It's always hard to make a call.
It's hard to know what to attribute this to. I feel like our whole country, I don't know if it's the election or what,
Well,
but like
the election is a huge bummer, so.
But everyone in like
People aren't even watching football. Did you hear about that?
Really?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is people in other circles like NFL viewership has fallen off a cliff and everyone's panicking and no one knows where that whole audience is gone.
People just watching it online or something in ways they can't track?
Well, or it's just look. I'm projecting now, but my own personal, just me, like Justin. I am just very, very anxious, and I don't feel good right now, just as a person, and like I'm not really going to the movies as much. I'm not really watching as much TV, and like I just feel I'm very anxious about the country and the election, and I just like. I can totally see why someone, if other people felt the same, they might be passing on, the third
Shouldn't
or
they be
fourth.
like distracting themselves?
Yeah, they
with,
don't
like,
they want to
ultraviolet video
escape?
games?
They want to escape this nightmare?
vampires.
Yeah, but I also
I blame
just can't-
vampires.
I also think like it's dark and dreary, at least in San Francisco. And when I get home, I have like some choices for how I want to spend my time. And like I love, love, love the Gears of War games, but it's hard for me to like sit down and turn it on and spend time like in that world. So I don't know. I can see how other people might be a little fatigued by that same feeling.
We're in an economic downturn still, despite the fact that there are some good
GDP
signs.
is bouncing back. It's up like 3 points.
A lot of things are up,
Yeah.
but the fact is that our unemployment rate is still tied to figures that don't represent actual employment and certainly don't represent underemployment.
Well, it's been a weird few years.
Yeah, I know.
But people don't have as much money as they did a decade ago in terms of real spending power. That hurts us, and I think Justin's right. There's a kind of a
I think
malaise.
pizza sales are way up. I'm going to claim it right now.
I blame
I think you guys are wrong.
vampires. They're thinning out the herd. We just haven't noticed yet.
But we also
It's
like if you
vampires.
think about the big summer movies, like a huge number of movies bombed.
Well,
you know?
but the summer movies just sucked.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like people
at
kind of
least
feel
all
that
these
way.
games are getting.
Yeah, these games are good, though.
These games are good.
Also,
Mafia's all right.
come on, digital sales.
That's true. Yeah, GameStop doesn't
This
have
is
that.
a GameStop report.
We are, This may not be reflective of like the entire sales across the entire industry. This is just one major retailer.
Yeah.
But the CEO of GameStop says our expectation was that new titles released in October would provide a catalyst for new software sales. But despite gaining market share, the titles underperformed our forecasted sales. Yeah. While the technology brands and collectibles segments continue to grow rapidly, which is like their added like amiibos and. Like phone, like iTunes cards.
Do you guys remember the PSVR? What happened to that?
He says they will not offset the decline in gaming this quarter. Yeah, PSVR also came out this month, but I don't think it really moved the needle.
No, it didn't.
Speaking of Titanfall 2, apparently Titanfall 2 is having a really rough start. Not in terms of like reviews, it's supposed to be a really good game, but analysts are calling Titanfall 2 sales substantially disappointing.
Yep.
Might be because it was released in between Battlefield and Call of Duty.
EA, man, don't release your two big first-person shooters 1 week apart.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
EA's CEO, Andrew Wilson, thinks those games serve two different audiences. He says, we think there's really three types of players. Three types of players. People that really love Battlefield and that kind of big strategic gameplay that will orient in that direction.
Okay.
The player that loves fast, fluid, kinetic gameplay of Titanfall 2. And the player that just has to play. The two greatest shooters this year will buy both.
So he's saying that Battlefield doesn't have fast, fluid gameplay.
That's what he said.
I think of Battlefield as fast, fluid, and kinetic.
I think.
Well, but
those are the three words I think of.
But Battlefield 1 specifically does slow down the Battlefield gameplay.
It does.
Thanks to those World War one.
I think he
weapons and
should have
whatnot.
gone with the horses versus robots argument.
Yeah,
Is
that would
true?
have been better.
That would have made more
You think
sense.
people
to
like
me.
horses more than robots?
Yes.
In Battlefield, definitely, of course.
I mean, I'm only saying, what the public has spoken, Damon.
Yeah.
This is not my opinion
That's true.
anymore.
You're right. You're just an observer.
That's right.
In the UK, sales of Titanfall 2 were barely a quarter of Titanfall 1's
Wow.
launch sales. And
gotta
Titanfall 1
work
was an
on a horse
Xbox
robot
One exclusive.
I'm there, totally.
We're gonna work on a horse.
Horizon
robot.
Zero Horse.
We have to edit this out.
The exclusivity thing is kind of weird.
horse, I like
I think it's hard for me to put my finger on. Maybe you guys can help me, but I definitely feel like Tomb Raider being an Xbox One exclusive, Rise of the Tomb Raider for that first year, just sucked the air out of that franchise in some way, and people kind of shrugged their shoulders. But sometimes people can rally around an exclusive, and Titanfall being an Xbox One exclusive probably bolstered that games in a lot of ways. It gave the Xbox One fan base something to sort of get behind. But now that anyone can just go buy it on whatever platform they want, I don't know. It sort of feels like it puts it in a different category.
Yeah, maybe.
I wish I had more insight to offer to this. Titanfall never grabbed me, and so I'm not particularly interested in the sequel.
I really appreciated the movement and fluid, I mean, it's right, the fluid kinetic nature of how you move around in that game. But
fast fluid connection.
Yeah.
Andrew Wilson was right.
But I mean, EA CEO Andrew Wilson completely nailed it. But I just don't play, very many online shooters like that in general.
So
So
this one has a campaign now, so I want to play that.
Yeah, me too.
And I did appreciate the fact that they did try to do new things with the verticality and stuff like that. That's really cool too.
Metal horse solid.
Hopefully, this is not indicative of the industry as a whole, but GameStop sales of games at GameStop were down 67% year over year for the third quarter.
I mean, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believe that you're not competing for people's money. You're competing for people's time. Kids are out of school at 3. We're out of work at 5 or 6, or whenever you go home, and you have 4 hours to spend. And television has never ever been better. So
Yeah,
why?
TV might be ruining this for everybody.
Well,
Streaming
TV and Snapchat, TV, Snapchat,
And you're
and
including
texting.
stuff like Netflix in there too.
Yeah, so it's I feel like kids are gonna go home, and watch Netflix or use a texting app with their friends. Texting app makes me sound so old, but I just mean, they're on their phones communicating with people, and that's what a game like Titanfall 2 is competing with for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and what crappy summer blockbusters are competing with are some of the best television and some of the best a boring, long, slow NFL game. I don't know.
I'm not going to defend that.
All right. Well,
I think they're boring and slow too.
I've
Jared
been
likes football.
No, I like football. I've been
I
a
think
football
it's a
fan
whole-
for a long time, but I'm not watching this year.
I think there's a whole
And,
generation of people that think it's boring and slow, and there's a flag every other play.
And I'm one of those people that's not tuning in for the first time. For me, it's actually been the increasing realization of just what the violence is doing to people. I used to really enjoy watching pro football, but the more I watch now,
You just are realizing?
Huh? Well, I know that
not-
sounds ridiculous, but there's a difference between, oh man, that guy's going to walk around with a broken leg for the rest of his life, which was bad enough.
definitely starting to
And
the
feel
rest of his
weird.
life?
Yeah, or
He can't fix his broken leg?
well, not when
No,
it's been
'cause they
broken
make him
6
play
times.
football.
But yeah.
The sport is changing because it's getting faster, and you have 350-pound linemen that can sprint faster than any
Is
of
it
us.
slower or
and,
faster?
and the results of the damage of traumatic brain injury, but also what happens.
They're
to your
crashing
friends.
into each other at
Also,
higher
again,
speeds with more
my
force.
wife was in a terrible car wreck a couple of
yeah.
years ago, and I'm starting to understand what that kind of injury means for a lifetime. When I talked about the broken leg for the rest of your life, I actually meant that. It never quite
heals.
Gets right, and so that has made a difference for me this year. So that's a weird GameScoop thing.
But
to say.
you're still an avid bungee jumper, so I think you're a little bit of
I'm
a
going to be all
hypocrite.
right there. Yeah.